if you don't have a strong core of individuals, you don't have a strong program. And it really, there's a ripple effect off of that from year to year. And so we suffered through having not so strong of a core group of individuals about 4 years ago, and in a good group. I don't want to discount it, but had to make some changes, and you know, we suffered through a few years that weren't quite up to par, like you say. And this year's group was the first year. You know, you talk about those changes you have to make, and this last year's group, they were such a strong core of individuals. You know, you can't compliment them enough, and that they got our program back up into the area we needed to be in, that we were used to being in, that Tarleton athletics is used to being in. And you know, this year's group is just going to, you know, reap all the benefits from that, learn all the lessons that we learned, especially the harsh ones toward the end of last season, and build on the positives. So I feel like this year's group, it's probably our first year in, gosh, 5-6 years, based on the little pattern we went through, that really has a returning group, you know, of 3- and 4-year seniors. And you know, that speaks volumes, you know, for a program. You know, last year's group, just like this year's group, was picked 7th in a preseason poll. And last year's group put in extra time. They knew something about them and believed something about themselves that the other people, you know, didn't. And you know, preseason polls, they don't mean much. You know, they're just bulletin board material, no matter where you fall in that 10. But last year's group, you know, they put in a lot of effort, and this year's group's putting in even more effort. You know, they're always there early, they're always staying late, and I'm really proud of them. They remind me a lot of our 2003-2004 group, in that they've got such a strong core group of individuals, and we're deep. I think as far as expectations go, I think clearly, you know, you can look at the kind of players that we lost last year. What a good group of players that graduated, outstanding group of seniors, you know, and big hitters. And lineup-wise, offensively, you could look clearly and say, you know, we're not going to be as top-heavy in the order. I think our assistant coach, Carter McBurnett, probably said that the most. Hey, coach, you know, we're not going to be as top-heavy, but, you know, hey, we sure are consistent all the way through, and it's true, and you know, and Carter sees that in a 2-year time period, and I think people who've been around our program a lot will say that we, you know, what he notices there in 2 years, you could probably look at based on our 2003-2004 group. They didn't hit a whole bunch of home runs, you know, but they were real consistent all the way through, and it was one of our better teams, and that really is why I think this year's group is going to do such a good job, on top of the fact that this is our first year in several years that we've got that strong core of 3- and 4-year seniors. Anybody who watches Ariana just knows she'd be cutthroat. I say this all the time. She'd be cutthroat if she was playing a game of checkers. You know, I mean, she is just such a competitor, and you know, a lot of times people look at Ariana and they see her out there and they think, you know, sometimes some people think it's negative because they see her and boy, she looks mad, and maybe not negative as much as they just think she just looks mad a lot. And the thing is with Ariana, I mean, she's just always very, very focused. She's very driven, and that's why we've had some great hitters here over the years. But you'd have to say that Ariana, I mean, you look at those statistics, and certainly I think if you looked at like Samantha Swanda, Monica Garza, Gracie Villa, golly, Katie Wellborn, obviously, I mean, you'd say if they were here for 4 years that they'd be right up there statistically. And Ariana being the first one of that magnitude that's going to have played 4 years for us, you know, she's putting that home run record, you know, you don't ever want to say out of reach, but boy, she's putting it hard to reach. And she's just, as a hitter and as a ball player, you could tell from her freshman year, you know, when she came onto our team, you know, practically walking onto our team at that, you know, she coming in with, you know, a little bit of scholarship money, but not a lot. You look at that kid and you would just go, oh my gosh, she's going to be something special. And I remember in the fall of her freshman year, I told one of the other coaches here that she was going to be a Hall of Famer for us. She was going to be on the wall. And I really do believe it. She's just such a competitor. That's what she brings to us, is just aggressive competitiveness. whether you're in baseball or softball, either way, that it sure is nice to have good communicators up the middle, and it doesn't discount any other position, no doubt, but having a real strong core of communicators. And when I say communicators, people who, they know what they're talking about, they're savvy on the field defensively, and it's almost like a look can convey exactly what they're saying amongst each other. That's so valuable defensively. And Ashley and Bailey too. Bailey Malden, another one of our catchers, doing such a great job. And Ashley probably has a nod right now in that area. Bailey is certainly gonna, I picture her starting at DP when she's not, starting back there. But Ashley, she brings, that field general mentality out there with her every single time. She's got a great arm. She does a good job of calling defense. The defense, where we're going with the ball, and she's just so savvy. I say again, I mean, that's what she brings to us. When you've got that, focusing out on the field, and two middle infielders who played together, for 3 years now. And, I say Kelsey, playing here for 3 years now with Ariana, going on her 4th year. They've played 3 years together, because Kelsey, even though she was so unselfish and moved to the outfield for us when we really needed her to last year, we still would put her at second base a lot, especially, in inner squads. We'd keep her, where she still had that hand in the infield. And when you watch those two turn into double play or working on the infield just in practice, you can see, a definite chemistry and connection on how they communicate on the infield. And that just lends itself to, to everybody communicating well. As far as Melody Mays in center field, and, and Lauren Grisham's looking really good out there as well. I think we could start either two of those freshmen out in center. But Mel, she probably is going to get the nod in center, and Lauren, is probably going to see quite a bit of time, if not a little in center, a lot in right. And both of them, they just shut down the gap so quickly. And Melody in particular, she doesn't act like a freshman out there in center, and she gets after it, and she's very aggressive, and she's not afraid to say what needs to be said out there. We've really worked on her with that, and I think she's going to bring a lot to us in that regard. We've got so many good hitters, and just that bring the potential of consistent bats. And it's really about the chemistry. I mean, sure, it's about the offense, but I've always, leaned heavier toward the defense, especially in that corner position. KK, certainly, because she played a lot over there. Shelby Tinklepaw is looking great at third base. Shelby's one of those players you could put her anywhere on the field and she's going to do well. As far as first base goes, it's really up in the air for us right now. We've got Amber Clifford looking really good over there. We've converted Courtney Broman, who, is such a, I'll tell you, she's had a hard luck time for us with injuries, and so she's never really gotten to get in the order and get on the defensive end and stay there and stay plugged in somewhere. And she is offensively, a shot in the arm for us, because she's fast and she's a consistent hitter, and we've converted her to a first baseman. It's not her strongest position, but because of an arm injury, we've converted her over there, and she's probably going to see some time for us over there, and backing up Kelsey at second base. I think Hannah Hancock does an outstanding job at first base. It's really going to go with who's hot and how that chemistry is over there. Who's hot at the plate, but how that defensive chemistry is probably the biggest thing for us. And right now, if we were starting tomorrow, it'd probably be Amber Clifford over there. And she's played a lot of third and first, and this is her first year playing with us full time, and I think she's going to do a great job. This year, I honestly do believe that that's probably the biggest thing we've addressed with our team, is that our corners in the outfield are going to give us a little bit more offense, a little bit more offensive power. And Kelsey last year, not being a true outfielder, boy, she did a good job for us. But I think Rachel Brownlow right now has the nod in left field. She's fast. She makes good reads on hits, which you have to have in a left fielder, somebody who's going to get a good quick jump. And I think she in a good strong arm, and I think she's going to bring a whole lot to us offensively. In fact, right now I kind of see her in the 2-hole, you know, in our order. As far as the right field position, I mentioned Lauren Grisham because she just gets after the ball. Boy, she walked on with us and has been just God, a real blessing. I mean, she's confident out there. But we could also go with Erin Freitas, who, you know, this is her 3rd year with us, and Erin, you know, really being one of those players you compared to the Rudy Rudigers that come onto your team and then just keep impressing and keep impressing. And, you know, if Erin's offensive game steps up like it could, you could very easily see Erin out there as well in right field. So right field's a little more up in the air, left field's pretty solid. I say all that, and I also say that we've converted Tanner Pipkin, who's played a little infield, a little catcher for us, into pretty solid right fielder as well. She's getting to the ball pretty quick right now, and she's got a great arm in right field. And offensively, Tanner, boy, I tell you, she's got a lot of power in that bat, so she might be a big surprise for us as well in the outfield. I think Randy had a great year last year, and I think the two complemented each other really well. I think Randy's ready, though, to kind of take on the bulk of the duties, and you see this a lot with fast pitch teams that'll have you know, a single pitcher that'll throw the majority of the innings. And Randy's one of those kind of pitchers who can do that. Her style and her endurance level and her mentality actually lend itself to probably being an even better pitcher if she's throwing more innings and not just, you know, every other game. And you know, so I see that being a real possibility for us, and it even step in Randy's, you know, her statistics, you know, yeah, but I mean, just her mentality and her approach to the game up even more than it was last year. And, you know, let's look at it. I mean, Randy was in the tops, you know, for the majority of the season in terms of ERA and in terms of innings pitched as well. I mean, she was up there, and you know, she was a couple of times Player of the Week, Pitcher of the Week in our conference last year. I really do think she's going to do well, and I think it also is going to lend itself because, you know, Randy actually brings a good bat into our lineup, a real good bat, and I think if she's playing more often and getting more at bats, we're going to see a whole nother dimension of Randy Fentress. And on top of that, I say that and really compliment her. I'll tell you what, Brenna Hennon has been a real surprise for us, and we were glad to add Brenna as a transfer from another conference school. We were glad to add her. At first, I was a little hesitant, and you know, when I first met with her, when she got released, she came in after she got that release, and she was just talking about her goals and what she wanted, and to see if we were interested. And I'll tell you what, it took about 5 minutes of a conversation with her to go, man, you know, she's got something special, and boy, she's got the right kind of mentality. And we talk about kind of a volunteer mentality, you know, here being what makes us successful. And I'll tell you what, she has stayed extra, gotten there early. She's one of those players that's always doing that, and she has thrown so good for us. In this spring, even better. In the fall, we were like, wow. And then this spring, you know, it's been something special, and I think she's going to do a great job. And I can't imagine, we've had a lot of pitchers who've complimented each other well. I can't imagine two pitchers complimenting each other better than Randy and Brenna in terms of their style. As far as, you know, our pitching staff goes, obviously we've got, you know, the freshman, the fabulous freshman, you know, from Stephenville, Caitlin Conley. And I'll tell you what, this will surprise a lot of people, and she is pitching good. Now, experience level, obviously she's going to be learning and just getting better and better as she goes. And I see her getting innings for us this year in that spot. But this is what's going to surprise a lot of people is I think Caitlin is going to be in our lineup a lot, and she is knocking the cover off the ball, and she's just she's so well liked on our team and such an integral part of our staff. Wouldn't hesitate to get her out there and get her lots of innings, and that's the plan. But I'll tell you what, you know, I really do see her in our lineup and starting to figure into our lineup pretty prominently. And you know, she just those three, I think they're a great battery staff. I think they do a great job combined with our catchers that we have. I expect great things, and I expect a lot of wins. I do, but it's not the goal. I mean, my expectations are that these girls play this game and they do it the right way. And what I mean by the right way is that any little girl that's watching them from outside the fence wants to be like them. That they look at them and they say, "That's who I want to be like," you know. And if the little girl that's outside the fence wants to be like you, that's a great definition of success. And so, you know, success has always been what I've said since I got here. That success, you know, and it's that John Wooden definition of giving everything you can to be the best you can be, doing everything you could do to be the best that you can be. And I think W's take care of themselves. I really do, and I think championships take care of themselves. And my expectation is that we don't forget who we are this year. And last year, you know, somewhere along the lines, when I look back at the things I want to improve on as a coach, I don't want to let my team forget who they are. And I feel like maybe at one time last year I did that toward the end of the season, because we forgot that we were the little guy. And I think in many ways we're the little guy, and we've got to have that volunteer mentality. And that goes back to something in our dugout. We say the mercenaries will always beat the draftees, but the volunteers will crush them both. And if we have this volunteer mentality that, hey, I signed up for Tarleton. I signed up for Tarleton softball. I love Tarleton. I love Tarleton softball. And we want to represent it in a classy and in an all-out kind of way, the right kind of way, then we're going to be successful no matter what we do. And, you know, it kills me to quote Chuck Noll, and that was a Chuck Noll quote, but because he's a Steelers and I'm a Cowboys fan. But that's, I'll tell you what, that guy knew what he was doing. And I think if we follow that type of a mentality, and we honestly do believe in it, and we remember it all season long, then I think we're going to be a tough team to beat, and I think we'll contend for championships. Not just one, but championships.